Hey everyone, hope you had a great time, a great day. We are back with part two of the interview with Donyea Goodman, a great music producer, gospel music producer. We've already completed part one where we was just getting into the juicy part of the interview. He was getting into the part where he works with uh, the machine for his church service. So this bad boy right here that you guys see me working with on the show every once in a while, he works with this thing. He actually works with the MK1 doing his service. Let's put out some of his links. If you guys are interested in finding him online, you can find him at www.donyemusic.biz. That is Donyea, which is spelled Donyea music.biz, B-I-Z, all right? He's also on Twitter at Donyea Studios, again, Donyea Studios. You can also find him on Facebook at Donyea Music, so facebook.com/Donyea Music, and YouTube is where I pretty much found him when I first was introduced to him, which is Donny4GGG. So it's Donny, Donny, the number 4, and the letter G 3 times. So Donny4GGG. That's his YouTube channel. So youtube.com/Donny4GGG. All right. So without further ado, we're going to go ahead and fire up the second part of the interview. Like I said, the first interview, he got a little busy and we couldn't complete, so we had to complete on another day. So, we went home and changed clothes and came back, took a shower, and voila, we did this. All right, so I hope you enjoy this segment. This one gets a little bit more juicy. All right, enjoy. Okay, let's start that over. Okay, and we're back live. We was talking about, we was actually getting into the machine.
Yeah.
You use that with your setup in church.
Yeah. Machine and MacBook Pro. That's it. That's all I use.
Okay.
I've been using Machine for a long time, but I just started using it at church about 3 months ago. Not 3 months ago, 3 weeks ago. And I'd used it in church a little bit before that, but it was just for drum loops. And so I started getting into actually programming parts and stuff because we don't have a big band at church. It's just the church that I play for. It's just me, a guitar player, and a drummer. And so we don't have a bass player or keyboard player or anything like that. So I wanted full band sound. So I started programming on Machine and started diving into Machine and seeing how I can, run a whole service with that. And it worked perfectly. So I've been using that ever since.
That's awesome. Because a lot of people don't know how powerful the machine is. A lot of people think that it's just specifically for drum purposes, building, programming drums.
Right.
But you could do a whole lot. And I seen the video of you, and you were just kind of going through different paths, and I assume with those you were switching through the scenes or whatever.
Exactly. I had all the song parts broken down into patterns and set them up in scenes, and we're triggering the scenes, the pads, exactly. And I like to set up the synchronization a certain way so that that the if I miss a cue or if I hit the wrong button and I need to change it, it picks up right where it needs to be. The music picks up right where it needs to be. So I don't have to do any catching up or stopping the track or anything like that.
Right. That's pretty dope. So that means, in today's churches,
Yeah.
how the song is never really done like the record anymore.
Right,
You know,
right, right.
improvising and you feel different on Sunday morning. Something just hit you and they want to like spend an extra 20 minutes on the verse or
Yeah,
something.
yeah,
So,
yeah. And I actually prepare for that. I mean, um, I don't just program the song, as it goes on the record. Like for instance, there's a song that we do, but we don't do the verse. We just do all the choir parts. So I track, the choir parts, or there's times I prepare for things like, you know, that improv moment where the director's driving a certain part, or the Ministry of Music wants a certain part driven. I change up the music and I program it so that if that moment comes, I have something to go to. I have a higher dynamic to go to.
awesome. Awesome. Now you program every week, right?
Yes.
So do you ever get to the point where you kind of forget what a scene would sound like?
You know what? um, that happens a lot. But so what I do is, um, normally how I remember is that I name them. I name my scenes. So it's not just, scene one, scene two, scene three, scene four. I name them like, okay, this is just the click loop. This is the intro, and this is, the main. I will, if there's like a main theme of the song, I'll hit, this scene will be the main scene, the main theme. I'll name it main theme, and then once I get to that, I pretty much remember how everything else was mapped out. Then it'll be, bridge, vamp one, vamp two, ride five, go to the four. Like I name all of that so I can remember. I know where I'm going, even though I don't remember what it sounds like. Just by looking at the label, I can pretty much tell what's getting ready to happen.
Oh, okay. That's clever. You can just you can so many machines just by what you just said. Now every place about to have a machine and they set
Yeah.
up. It used to be the NPC. Now
A lot of people started trading them in when Machine came out. They did. A lot of producers started trading in uh, because when Machine first came out, and this was before the Machine Renaissance released, but when the Machine first came out, there was, to be able to sample, first of all, to already have a drum library and not have to load in a bunch of discs, or
right.
bring some type of SCSI drive or jazz drive, to be able to have all of that, or not have to load a CD, with the machine, with the MPC 5000. I mean, it was it was perfect because it was like, oh man, all I need is my laptop. I can control everything in the machine software without touching the computer. It comes with all my sounds, so I can get right into making music right away versus like, oh, let me load this, let me load that. And then it also allows you to sample, quickly and easily, split your samples, time stretch, and assign it to a pad easily, and then saving your sample library in the same machine library. So, I mean, being able to search for certain samples, it's just a matter of going into the browser, typing it out, boom, it's right there. So that's what I love about it. And even with my scenes, I can always prepare for the next moment because, if the preacher's up or if something's happening and the spirit's high and they're getting ready to shout, all I have to do is type in SHO, and all my shouts come up in every key. And I
Wow.
just double click what key we're in, and we're ready.
Wow.
And all I gotta do is hit play. And a lot of times I'll hit play on the loop and just have it turned down. So then when it's time to go, I can just turn it up and we just go from there. As you saw in the video.
Wow. That's awesome. Yeah, that's real cool. I like how fast the machine is. If you can remember on the MPC, you can actually load up all your songs, all your sequences, and all you have to do is just switch to them right quick, and they
Right.
always be loaded. So I was thinking like, the machine, how would that work? And I can't switch to the next song, and I came up with something clever. I created a folder on my desktop and put all of what I was doing for that session,
Right.
live, whatever, and just double click and bam.
Right. Right. It just opens up.
Because all it's doing is just uh,
Loading up the samples. Yeah.
is uploading data pretty much, and
Yeah.
it's like that.
Yeah. It's pretty fast. I mean, I'm able to uh, switch that way. Um, with me, I just go in the there's that search browser in the actual machine menu, and because I know what songs we're doing that day, all I got to do is type a couple letters in the middle, like in one of the videos. If you notice, um, I think it was the video, one of the videos I just recently posted not too long ago. I actually type in the next song while I'm playing the first one. While I'm playing that song, I'm typing in the next song so that when we're done, all I have to do is double click, and then that song will open up, and then I just hit start. So there's not a lot of dead time in between.
Oh, okay, that's what's up. I thought you was tweaking something, but
Nah, man, I'm actually typing in letters for the next song.
that's cool. That's cool. That's what's up. So, um, with that being said, do you use a machine to do your productions if you're working with artists or whatever?
Oh yeah, all the time, all the time. That's when it becomes my drum sample machine. It becomes my sampler. That's when it becomes all of that. Because I have so many other programs that I use for other instruments. Um, it's when I'm doing production, actual music production and composition for artists or film scoring, anything like that. That's when my machine is to go to for you know authentic sounding urban drums or certain samples that I like to use. Certain videos that I did on YouTube using samples. I was using the machine.
Wow, that's what's up. I definitely would love to connect with you on that level. I heard you mention.
Oh yeah.
Um,
But first, I got to get a machine studio like you got. Then we can talk.
uh,
I get that studio, then I'll be all good. Right now, I'm I'm just trying to make a living.
nah, you got it, man. You also work in Studio One as well, right?
But yeah, Studio One is my DAW of choice, hands down. I don't, and a lot of people, it's whatever works for you. It's really about preference. There's no one DAW over the other. If you can make something work for you and it be effective, then that's what you use. I personally worked in Cubase. I worked in Logic. I hate Pro Tools. I mean, that's just, Studio One is geared to me. Now, for me, Studio One is geared for the music composer, the music producer. It's geared for that. So, I mean, with Studio One, you give me 5 minutes, I'll give you a song. I'm done. So it's that the workflow is that fast.
Wow, that's awesome. Um, I've been wanting Studio One for a while, and finally, maybe a few months ago, got my hands on the Studio One artist version.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm gonna have to definitely connect with you and how to
Oh
design.
yeah.
I'll
Once you
put it
once you find out once you find out the tricks in that thing, you pretty much you. I'll put it this way. I know my god brother and production partner. Um, he was using Logic. He was the Logic head, and that's all he was using. It was Logic, Logic, Logic. And I said, man, you need to get on Studio One. He was like, man, I just got Logic down, and I was like, trust me on this. And so, you know, he went out, picked it up, and he was like, man, um, how do you do this in Studio One? I'm trying to make this sound, and it was so easy. I was like, oh, just do this, do that. And he was like, is that all you do? You don't do? I'm like, yeah, ain't no menus. It's just right there in front of your face. And so there's so many things you can do so fast. Like I literally saw a trumpet player stack his horn parts 5 minutes, maybe if that. You know, he just let the loop go, stacked his horn parts, and when he hit stop, he had 8 trumpet stacks.
Wow.
I was like, oh yeah, yeah. See, there's where it's at, right there.
Wow. Wow, that's awesome. That's awesome. Um, that's some great stuff, man. Great stuff.
Yeah, man, I
How
love it.
long have you actually been producing?
For a while, man. My first official record, not a record that I played on, but my first official record that I produced, 1998, 1999, somewhere in there. And that's when I started actually producing records on my own. I was always working in the studio, learning and producing music for other records, but records that that I took on as the sole producer. My first record was 1998, 99, and but I've been producing, man, for a long time. See, I started doing production. There was no YouTube. There was no MySpace. It, we were still using dial-up on the internet. So it was, back then there were no. It wasn't. The Pro Tools wasn't out. Um, music software hadn't taken that turn. People were using, I think the MPC was like the latest and greatest thing going for music production at the time. People had all these racks. They had racks of sound modules and sound, keyboards everywhere, and then the MPC triggering everything, you know, um, ADAT machines and all that. So I started production um, really about 1996, 97, shortly after I graduated high school. So, I've been producing since then.
Oh, okay. I was going to say you kind of telling your age.
Hey, I ain't tripping. I ain't tripping out. I'm up there.
Okay.
Music years that's considered up there. You know,
Yes.
I couldn't break out and try to be an artist right now. I'll put it that way.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
I couldn't break out and try to be an artist right now. They'd tell me I'm too old.
Have you ever entered any uh, talent shows, beat battles, things of that nature?
Man, let's talk about beat battles.
Yes, sir.
Okay, my first beat battle. Here's when I realized that competition. It, it- I mean, here's when I realized competition wasn't for me because a lot of the beat battles, particularly the ones that I saw, they were fan based. So it was all based on how many people you knew that could vote for you, or how many people you. And I didn't know that many people, man. I didn't have friends like that. I didn't have fans like that. I didn't have all that. But what it did do was inspire me to get better. I think the first beat battle and the last that I actually attended, and I went up against some DJs. I didn't go up against like other. They were producers, but they were DJs, like hardcore DJs. And I was into the art of the music and the composition and all the thought that goes into it.
Right.
They weren't into that. They was into what beat banged the hardest. You know what I mean? And so I went in there with my music. I didn't go in there with, hip hop. I went in there with my music, and they dug it. But man, it was going back and forth, and it was real close. And then the dude just broke out with a banger. Just a chant beat. Bam, bam, bam. That's all it was. And the whole audience, all his people went crazy, and he won. That was the first round. I got knocked out first round. You know what I mean? And yeah, I was so defeated. Yeah, I was so defeated because I was like, man, to me that wasn't music. I'm like, I mean, that's just a one specific element, But for some people, it's about the crowd, but I knew then that what I created went beyond like the opinion of the crowd, And I remember two guys pulled me aside. It was like, and they pulled me aside, and they were like, "Man, let me tell you something." They were like, "You got a lot more to say than he does. Even though he might have won that first round, you have a lot more to say than he does. He doesn't have much to say." And I didn't think about it right then because I was mad. I was like, "Man, whatever, man." And I just left, got on the bus, and went home. But I thought about it. Years later, a friend of mine said that a friend of mine told me he was down at Darkchild Studios in LA, and he was playing some stuff of mine down there. And he said a lot of the cast was looking at him and was like, "Hey man, that dude got a lot to say." And it brought back what those guys said, And ever since then, that's when I realized, I mean, my music is not necessarily, for me, music isn't a market, it's an expression. Creation of music is an expression, and yeah, I do it to make a living, but as a producer, it's my job to take what someone gives me that they need done and express it in a way that it sounds like them, but I'm the one writing the music. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
But I learned that my music, like the authenticity of what I create, is me saying something. It's not me, trying to create something for other people. It's me saying what I want to say. And to those that it applies to, they absorb it, And some people, it's like, no, that ain't hitting enough. Oh, okay, well that's cool. You know what I mean? Now, don't get it twisted. I did learn how to step my game up as far as hip hop was concerned, and as far as celebrative beats were concerned, so that so that I so that my stuff hit hard, And at that time, I didn't have a mixing ear or nothing like that. I was just creating some good music. But I learned, okay, when in Rome, you gotta learn how to say what you gotta say, but say it like the Romans say it. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, but I stopped doing beat battles and competitions, and I did one more. I did like a remix competition, and again, I was creating. It was an art form to me, but for them, it was like, no, whatever gets the club jumping,
Right.
And I was like, well, see, that's not why I create music. I don't create music for the responses of other people, So it's, I never won a beat battle. I never won a competition. Nothing like that.
Wow. Well, I mean, it doesn't matter. Seeing that your credentials and who you work with, and nothing but A-list people. So
Yeah.
that's all that matters right now, I guess.
I mean, that really comes from relationship, man. And if I could tell anybody anything, man, this music industry is more about relationship than it is about talent.
Right.
I've seen people that have no talent at all, but they have relationships with the right people, so they're the ones to get the opportunity. And so I learned how to treat people, the way I want to be treated based upon that. I want somebody to help me one day, so I help people. I want somebody to look out for me, so I do my best to look out for people. You know, and that's really what it is. Which is why I started things like my Facebook second page and different things like that, because it's the bigger your network is, the more opportunity you're able to house. And sometimes that opportunity might not be for you, it might be for someone else, and it's your responsibility to pass it along.
Absolutely. That was so profound. That was it right there. Um, well, I think we've approached the end of this interview. If you have anything else you want to share with the beginners who's just starting, or you know, sometimes it gets discouraging when going this route. You see, this music industry is one of those cutthroat industries,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
if you want to share something on that route.
Well, I'll say this, uh, to the beginner. Um, One thing that I appreciate this particular generation, or this particular set of beginners that I've talked to and experienced, is that at least some of them, if not maybe half of them, at least some of them know, hey, I'm a beginner. They know that, and they understand that. Okay, I have to work towards it. What I will say to those that you know that are really beginners, but they want to deem themselves more than what they are. Um, there is where the discouragement more so sets in. Um, I've discovered there's two types of people that get discouraged. Those are people that they're not beginners. They've been working at this for years and they can't seem to get a break, such as myself. And then there's the beginner that thinks he's more than a beginner and can't get a break. You know, um, I would encourage the first thing to check and to understand in going up the hierarchy of the ladder of the music industry is your pride. That's the first thing you learn to control, your pride. Um, and when I say control, because you have to have a balance. You can't be so you can't be so prideful that you charging yourself out of opportunities. You demanding all these high prices and you can't really do nothing. Um, you know, let's be honest. There's a lot of cats that can't halfway play, but they want $4,000. I mean, it's ridiculous. Um, but then there are cats that they have talent that is worth investing in, and they have gifts that is worth being paid for. They have the goods, but in the name of humility, they sell themselves short, and they end up working harder than they need to. So pride is something you have to balance. Um, there's a time to have pride and and be confident in who you are and understand. Look, this is what I can offer you. This is how much we charge, and that's it. And if people want to try to shortchange you, then you have to have that pride and say, no, I can't let you do that. You know, but don't go flying off the handle, thinking you all of that. And I learned this, man, for any person, for any one person who might feel like they're the best, there's one person better than them.
Absolutely.
And I learned that in grade school, and I'll never forget her. Her name was Miss Hughes. Yeah, she was an older lady, Miss Hughes, and she used to. There was a kid that used to beat up everybody because he had a black belt, in karate, and so he was whooping up on everybody. Fortunately, I was able to kind of skim out of some fights with him, but he wanted to fight everybody. Just little Asian kid, man, just running around roundhousing you know. You know, and Miss Hughes used to tell him, He said, you think you bad, but there's somebody out there badder than you. That for every one person who thinks they're bad, there's one person badder than them. You know, and
Right.
that stuck with me all my life. You know, for every one person that think they're the best, there's somebody better than you. You know, and and she would tell us, she was like, it behooves you to not treat people that way. And sure enough, a little kid came along that, was a little skinny, little scrawny Asian kid. And and you know, he taught that guy a lesson. I'll never forget it. They went to fighting, and the little kid, dude thought he was bad in karate, and the little kid had been studying martial arts as an infant. You know what I mean? And he flew in from Japan, I believe. So
Wow.
the dude he just straight Steven Seagal little dude, and I was like, but it stuck with me, and it was like, you know what? You never know, because people was picking on the little kid, and he just would never say nothing to nobody, But you never know, you never know who a person is, And so, for those of you who were like, beginning trying to get on, don't try to use pride, don't try to lie to kick it, don't try to puff yourself up to be bigger than you are, because you'll get found out, But for those of you who are really struggling, trying to, break into the industry, I will say this: the best thing you can do is to create your own industry within yourself. Create your own market. Create your own music. Don't try to become a household name everywhere else without trying to become a household name in your own local area, your own region. Start there. Learn how to network right there in your own house, your own place. Nobody else wants to buy your music. Figure out a way to platform your music and put it out by yourself. Don't wait for Hollywood and New York and LA and LA. Don't wait for the music industry to find out who you are. Make yourself an icon. Now we can do it. I mean, with the internet now, you can do it. When I was coming up, it was harder than that. There was no YouTube. There was no internet. Now, I mean, you can start a YouTube channel and become a phenomenon on the internet and haven't been anywhere. So, I mean, take advantage of all of that. Take advantage of the technology. Think outside the box of what you think would get you recognition, and find something else. I know a lot of entrepreneurs out there now, and they're millionaires now, and it's like, how did you get started? And, they're like, well, I was broke, I didn't have nothing, and I just, I wanted to do something that would, be different. So I sat down and I created a game for the iPhone. Now, this guy is the owner of Candy Crush Saga or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, one little idea took him up to the top. And so, that, find other ways, and understand. A lot of discouragement comes from also misunderstanding how to view failure. You don't understand how to view failure, because sometimes failure is, to me, I don't view myself as a failure. I feel that there's some areas where I have failed, but that doesn't mean I'm a failure. And I think a lot of us, we allow people, circumstances to make us feel that way. There's an old story out about Thomas Edison when he was trying to create the light bulb, and he tried, he tried over, 2,000 times, as people say, but somewhere around the 758th time, people will say, hey, man, you done tried this 758 times, man. You failed. Leave it alone. He said, no, I didn't fail. I just proved that there's 758 methods that don't work.
Right, right.
You see what I'm saying? So, the thing about failure is now you find out what doesn't work. You find out that, okay, that path isn't the one. And the more paths you find out don't work, it gets you closer to the one that does. You know.
That's good. Yeah, that's what's up. That's good stuff, man. You were actually talking to me that last segment when you was like, be different, find your
Hmm.
own. Yeah, you was talking to me. I want to know what you. Yeah, you. I'm sitting over here like, man, he's talking to me, man. Like, man, that's dope.
Yeah, man. It really works. I'm a witness that it works. I didn't know what my niche would ever be. Trying to get on and trying to be seen and heard, and finally I was like, let me find a way to put my own thing out there. You know, and believe it or not, there's an audience for those of us who trying to do this music thing. There's an audience for each and every last one of us. There's an audience. We just don't know how to. We don't know how to find it. We're not getting their attention. But there's an audience out there for you.
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. Um, I've recently found out some things that kind of helped me, I guess. We'll do our thing, and I think I mentioned this before, and sometimes when you put it out there in the public, you expect a certain amount of attention, and you don't get that attention you're looking for,
Yep.
but then you get approached on the street, just going about
Right.
going to Walmart and okay, is that you?
Yeah, man. That's a true story. That's a true story. You put things out there, you'd be surprised. I was doing something, and I was putting all these videos out on YouTube, and I was 40 views, 50 views, 100 views, and but unbeknownst to me, these views were not from the U.S. These views were from overseas,
Uh,
and I got an email from a South Korean neo soul group that wanted to feature me on their record.
wow,
You see what I'm saying?
wow,
So like I said, there's an audience. You just they won't know who you are until you put something out there. You
right,
know.
right, and sometimes your break may not come from where you think it comes from.
Yeah. Your break is never gonna come from where you think it comes from. That is the rule. That is the rule. It never your break never comes the way you think it's gonna be. Because the very thing you're doing that's like, oh, this is gonna be a hit. That's not gonna be the one. You
Right,
know. It's because that's just the way life's agriculture works. It's gonna be something you least expect. You know, to like kind of blow up on you, or some idea that you least expect takes off, and before you know it, you're up there, and you're flying, and you don't even remember how you got off the ground.
that's what's up. Are you preaching yet?
Man, um, I don't know how to answer that. I don't know how to answer that. I suppose in my own way, I've found my own form of ministry in that way. I'll let God decide the rest. As far as what platform He decides to put me on in that arena. I know that you're not. I mean, you're not the first person to ask. But I've left that up to God to decide. Where that specific platform, especially when it comes to ministry of the gospel, where that is. Um, my dad's a preacher. My grandmother was a preacher. All my family's full of preachers. And so it's no surprise. But I believe that what God has given me, and the word that He's birthed in me, for not just musicians, but it is for musicians in the sense because I am one, and I know that a lot of the church, and when I say the church, I'm talking about the body of Christ, the Christian church, specifically our urban churches, our African American church organizations, Kojic, Church of God in Christ, Baptist, um, apostolic, growing up in all of those denominations and observing, like I do understand that there's more of a misunderstanding about what we as musicians really deal with, and not just musicians, singers, people that are, anointed and gifted in the arts, and have that church background. We go through our lives are different than the average person that gets saved and grows up and he's a construction worker, or he gets saved and he grow up and he works at Boeing or Microsoft, or he works down there at the factory. Our lives are a little bit different than that, and I do and have observed like a misconstruence of what you know we deal with in our hearts and our minds, and our lives are just different, and sometimes you need someone who has been there and understands that struggle to speak to you from a biblical perspective as well as a musical perspective, and not just preach at you and tell you what you should and shouldn't do, and tell you what's right and what ain't right, and because of um, a lot of that does not help us, preaching at us musicians, or preaching, that a lot of it does not help us, and there's a lack of spiritual mentorship. There's a lack of true pastoring. A lot of churches, they care to hire people, and they're not thinking about what that person might be dealing with in their personal life. How to help them get their personal life together. Everybody wants to hire the baddest organist, but nobody wants to sit down with the baddest organist and teach him how to keep his marriage. It's things like that. Teach him how to understand. God is a God of balance. Everything ain't church, everything ain't music. Take your wife out. You know what I mean? Spend more time with your kids. Put the music down sometime. Go play Xbox. Go bowling. Have a life. You know what I mean? And then actually have a relationship, a spiritual relationship. Your playing isn't your church. That doesn't save you, and that doesn't help you. As much as a relationship will. So I believe there's a somewhat of a lack in that area, and coming from someone who's been through what I've been through. Um, there's a lot of musicians, and from what I've seen, man, musicians get used, abused, and churches don't care as long as they in A flat. Come on, and that's fine. But then when the music, you know what I mean. But then what I do notice is, and then all of a sudden, that musicians get sick, they have a heart attack, and you don't see pictures of their pastor with them at the hospital on Facebook. You don't see that. You see what I'm saying? You don't see the church, coming together. Look, let's believe God for our musicians. Let's try to take care of them. Who's gonna look out for his wife and kid? You know what I mean? Like, I don't see a lot of that. What I do see is us musicians posting stuff on Facebook and was like, everybody pray for so and so. You see what I'm saying? Like, I see that there's somewhat of a lack in that area, and so if I can be the one not to just complain about it, but to be the one to say something about it and do what I can to change it, then that's where I've been, and so if that's the platform, God has for me and is leading me in that direction, then that's where I'll stand, even if it's not behind the pulpit, maybe it is behind a keyboard, but at least, I'll be giving that out, for people to, absorb and embrace and apply to their lives.
That's what's up, man. You preaching right now. Yeah, man. I really that's what's up, man. Yeah, I definitely appreciate your time, and interviewing with me, man. You said a lot of things that I felt was very, very helpful, and I was listening myself to some things you were saying. Um, I'll just say continue doing what you're doing, man, because I know that there's a lot of people listening, and those videos you post when you take a moment and just have some words to share, yeah, you be saying some stuff.
Well, I appreciate it, man. I appreciate it, and I appreciate you opening up an avenue, for musicians to kind of hear and share, you know, um, not just musically but personally, so that those of us that are out there, it's not us by ourselves. And so I appreciate what you're doing. It actually means a lot more than you think it does, you know, providing an avenue, a platform for musicians to share and impart, So thank you for having me.
Absolutely, man. I try to do what I can, man. It's not easy, man. No.
The devil.
Yeah, man. Yeah, like I said, man, I definitely would like to build a relationship with you. I don't want this just to be an interview and then I don't hear from you no more.
Oh, definitely, man. We'll definitely stay in touch. Definitely, most definitely.
That's what's up, man. You just made my day when you said that. Well, kind of wanted to put your links out there for the viewers that wish to hear your music. Hear anything that you're doing. Any events or shows you got coming up, whatever. The website is Donyea Music. Sorry, DonyeaMusic.biz. That's DONYEA music.biz, right?
Yep.
Cool. And if you guys want to follow him on Twitter, he's twitter.com/ at Donyea Studios. So, DONYEA Studios. And he's also on Facebook, Donyea Music, and YouTube, where I found him first, Donny4G. So DONNY 4 and then 3 G's.
That's it.
Okay. I'll post this information in the description so you guys won't get that misconstrued or whatever. So again, brother, I appreciate it, man.
Thank you for having me, man. It's a lot. I appreciate it.
All right. Gonna end it.
All right, you guys.
Okay.
I appreciate
and we're back live.
Yeah. I appreciate you guys for hanging out with me. Yeah. Donyea definitely shared some great. He went in and dived in real deep on the production side and giving some life experience that I feel can go a long way with anyone. If you're a music producer, you're a musician that plays in church, or just a musician, period. I feel like although Donyea is a gospel musician, producer, I'm sure he does other things outside of gospel, but I feel like this interview hits everybody in every market. No matter if you play rock, if you are an EDM person or a pop person or R&B hip hop guy, I feel like the information can help anybody. You know what I'm saying? It was pretty much self-explanatory, the experiences and things like that. So I definitely learned a lot from this interview, and I will be putting some of that to use in my later career. And I hope you guys do the same. All right. So with that being said, this is the Art of Sound Show. I am your host, KJ, and visit the website. Again, I will be posting a blog about this, and both of the links are provided at any time, at all times, and make it easy for you guys. If you want to comment to it, you got anything you're thinking, you got any questions or anything like that, we can definitely address them in that blog post. All right. So again, thank you guys for watching, and stay tuned next week, Thursday, same spot, probably a different camera angle, but we're gonna get it right. And yeah, Thursday 8 is 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. So I'm not sure where you guys. I know I've been viewed all over the world, so I don't know what time that is for you. But if you can't make it, that's totally fine. These events are always being streamed live. Well, they're being streamed live, but they're being archived as well. That's what I was trying to say. So you guys will never miss out. Okay. All right. I'm going to leave you guys. It's always hard to leave you guys, but I gotta go. I gotta complete my what I do for a living. All right. All right. See y'all around.